Okay, so thank you, Shanti. Unexpected, a little bit shy now. So just so I know, because I see many new faces here, how many of you it's your first time coming here? Great. So yeah, it's been a little bit over a year since I last came. Um, oh, I was here yesterday as well, so. But in any case, I am what I thought to do. I was asked to lead some sessions on mindfulness meditation, and so I'm going to assume a low level of previous experience. So all my very senior students, experienced meditators, it'll be some review for you, but it's good. So what I thought we could do, we have, you know, and so what I thought we could do is a lot of experience meditating, learning by doing, you know, and then some breaks from the meditation. I'll say a few words, I'll answer a few questions, and then I wanted to lead you through a few different um, kind of variations on this mindfulness meditation. Okay, so let's start with the basics, and it's very much emphasized in the Tibetan tradition is having a good meditation posture. So we'll start with that. So usually they talk about the so-called 7-point posture, and is to have a straight back, so sitting up straight. But there are some of you on chairs, but I'll first talk to the people who are sitting on the cushions. So it's all very good how we have here. There's a larger cushion and then another cushion just where you sit on, right? I even have a smaller cushion. I'm sitting on 2 cushions. And if you have your tailbone higher than your knees, then that helps to put your body into nice alignment. Then the legs, if you can sit in the full lotus posture, that's great. I can do that for about 45 seconds before I'm in a lot of pain. So I typically meditate in the half lotus, which is one foot on the opposing thigh. Okay. And then if that's not comfortable, then even just sitting cross-legged is okay. And then another variation is I've heard it talked about as the Burmese posture, where so the table is blocking, but instead of having the leg up, you would have your ankles in line with each other on the cushion, on the larger lower cushion. Yeah. So when the leg in half lotus is on the thigh, sometimes that can block the arteries in the thigh, and then your leg falls asleep. So to have them both kind of, in front of each other, and then you're, yeah, kind of like that, yeah. Then it's quite comfortable, right? Yes. Okay. Now, our friends who are sitting on chairs, it's okay. But if you are meditating on a chair, then it's good to come up from the back of the chair so you're not resting on the back, and then have both your feet flat on the ground. Okay, like that. So then working our way up from the legs, yeah, we have our hand position. So sometimes just like this is okay, right? Those of you who might have done some yoga before, this mudra is very popular as well. But what you'll often see in the Buddhist tradition is this left hand down first, the right hand on top, and the thumbs touching like that in the center of the body. So you can experiment what's comfortable for you. And then, as I mentioned, the most important is to have a straight back. And especially, sometimes I have a tendency to lean forward. So you can also imagine if you drop a coin from your nose, it should hit your belly button, your navel. Yeah. Shoulders, oftentimes we're punching in front of computers, so we can roll our shoulders up and back. So the chest is nice and open, and then the are kind of in line with the body. Yeah. All right. Should be a little bit of space between the body and the elbow, like that. And then we gently, wow. Sorry, those of you on Zoom, an old friend just arrived. So then we gently tuck the chin in like this, just slightly. And you'll feel some elongation in the back of your neck. So in general, that is going to help align the energy channels in the body, and then that'll help our concentration. So normally, if you wear specs, it's good to take them off during the meditation. I'm keeping them on so I can see your postures and especially see if anyone falls asleep. And then keep our mouth closed, but the teeth not clenched. And then you can put the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the upper teeth, and then just very subtly create some suction so that there's no extra air in the mouth cavity. Then the eyes, well, in general, many people meditate with eyes closed. In this tradition, it is said to just slightly open the eyes, allowing some light to come in, because with the eyes closed, it is easier to get concentrated, but it's also easier to fall asleep. And for us, generally sleep deprived in this modern age, then sleep is an issue. Well, lack of sleep is the issue that causes the issue of sleeping during our meditation time. Okay. All right. So with that, we can begin. So in general, we more later, but there are the four kind of applications of mindfulness: the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. And so we're going to start with mindfulness of the body. So now that we're in the comfortable meditation position, there is a saying in Tibetan that goes something like, your body on your seat and your mind in your body. So normally our thoughts are constantly chasing after memories of the past or thoughts of the future. Body is just here in the present moment. So I invite you to bring your awareness into your body and connect with the sensations that you're feeling right now. So one thing that's always good is to kind of connect with the sense that you're now sitting. And how do you know that you're sitting now, as opposed to standing, walking, or lying down? So how do we know that we're sitting? Well, we feel weight of our bodies on the cushion beneath us. So now I invite you to shift the awareness from your seat to your face. And here, try to get some awareness. Usually we have some tension in the facial muscles, maybe around the eyes, maybe in the cheeks, maybe in the brow. Sometimes the eye muscles have a slight squinting. So just to feel into those facial muscles. And when you, if you notice there's some tension, allow yourself to release and relax. To in this relaxation. So just as every time we exhale, we are in one sense letting go of the breath, tension. Now continue down through the rest of our bodies, sort of checking in part by part. And first, I just want you to bring your awareness to that particular part of the body and notice what is there. What kind of sensations there might be. Sensations of maybe the fat, the skin, maybe your skin coming into contact with your clothes, maybe some itchiness. So just as an impartial observer, bearing witness to whatever happens, then we'll go through the body and just become aware of these various parts of the body. And then again, if we notice there's tension being held, we can let go. So continuing down from the face, we can go to the neck, shoulders, down through the arms, to the hands, then continuing on with the torso, we can start at the chest, stomach, the abdomen, continuing on from the upper back, to the lower back, down through the pelvis, the legs, starting with the thighs, and then through the calves, through the ankles, feet. And then we can take a comprehensive view of the entire realm of the body consciousness. And then, if you can, then be aware of the entire range of sensations in the body. If not, you can choose to focus on one particular part that is most vivid and prevalent for you and your awareness in this moment. So at this point, we're just trying to connect all sensations and not getting caught up in stories, caught up with thoughts of pleasantness or unpleasantness, having preference for the pleasant and aversion for the unpleasant. Just remaining in that, so the raw sensation. So please gently come out of the meditation, bring your awareness back to the room. So you can relax your body posture. Okay. So maybe, yeah, maybe meditation session before I speak. Typically, we do, it's common to do like a 45-minute meditation block, and then you would break that up into two 20 some minute session with a 2-minute break. You can adjust your foot position, even stand up and if you're like falling asleep or something. And yeah, stretch. Okay, start again. So again, to come to our meditation position. And then since we've already done in quite some detail in the last session, let's go through all those same steps. So to review, look at physical sensations in the body in this moment. So the first thing we can do is then just connect with the fact that we're now sitting. So feeling yourself on the cushion beneath you. A sense where there's more pressure in terms of your body on the cushion beneath you. Which part of the legs are touching the cushion and which aren't. And then continuing on again with the facial muscles, softening and relaxing. Using the out breath to let go and release any tension that we might be holding. And then we continue on through the rest of the body. So this time you can go at your own pace. Bring your awareness to these various parts of the body. First, just checking in with the present moment. The sensations there might be, a sensation of tingling, itchiness, just the sensation of your skin coming into contact with the clothes. You feel in your torso some fluctuations as you breathe in and out. So going down through these parts of the body from the neck, arms, chest, back, seat, the pelvis, down through the legs, all the way to the toes, going at your own pace, checking in piece by piece. You might find it easier or, yeah, more comfortable to do the arms individually as well as the legs. And then when you're done with the part by part body scan, then try to bring your awareness again to the whole sensations in the body. If you can be aware of the whole body at one time, that's good. It's also okay if there's a particular strong sensation in one part, then just focus on that. And as we do this, then these sensations are the object of our meditation, are the object of our focus. And so when there are other appearances that come to the mind, like the sounds outside, or maybe the thoughts or memories are coming up, then caught up with them, just allow them to arise and pass away on their own accord. Maintain your awareness on the sensations of the body. Then, for the last part of this meditation, still staying, but we will shift our attention to the breathing and the sensations in the body as we breathe in and out. Ask ourselves how we know we're sitting. We can do the same, asking ourselves, how do we know that we're breathing? The fluctuations in the body, the changes in the body, the sensations in the body as we breathe in and out. So some of you might feel the abdomen rising and falling. You might feel the chest cavity expanding and contracting. You might feel the air over the skin in the nostril area. So wherever it is most vivid and prevalent for you, just place your mind's attention there and watch. To the mind. Try not to engage. But if you do notice that your mind has wandered off from the object of meditation, then as that you've become distracted, then just gently bring your attention back to the object, in this case, the breath. You have to do that many times during the session, that's okay. Okay, so gently come out of the meditation, bring awareness back to the room. So, and yeah, please sit comfortably or stand. So, uh, I forgot something at the beginning. That is the motivation. So, um, typically in the Theravadan tradition, the Vipassana tradition, I don't talk so much about motivation. They'll just start a session like we did, sit down and are of what's going on in your own of experience. So I started the session in that vein. But in the Tibetan tradition, typically we always start with motivation, reflecting on why we're. Yeah. So in general, just to go into it briefly and to set the context, peace, happiness, well-being. We don't want to suffer, and our minds are the means through which we experience the world. And so, the most famous stanza from Buddhism, from the Buddha in the Dhammapada is, "Do not commit a single non-virtue, accumulate a host of virtuous actions to fairly subdue one's mind." This is the teaching of Buddha. So without getting into it too much, what the discovered and realized is that the source of our suffering fundamentally is the unsubdued mind. So when our mind is unsubdued, uncontrolled, then these afflictions can arise. Mental afflictions like anger, jealousy, pride, greed, attachment. And then these negative states of mind then impel us to do negative actions with our body and speech. On more con- conventional level, the Buddha also taught how, through the law of karma, how our experiences of happiness or suffering even are the ripening effects of the positive and negative actions that we've done. And those negative states of mind then impel us to do negative actions that experiences suffering. So that's why, first line, do not commit a single negative action. Then accumulate or perform. A host means, yeah, as much as possible, virtuous actions. Because the happiness that we experience as a result of that, you know, it's never enough. And then what determines whether our actions are positive or negative is the state of mind we have as we perform them, or that motivate us to perform them. And so that's why we need to subdue the mind. This is the teaching. Yeah. So why the Buddha taught that is because he wants us not to suffer and wants us to have happiness and well-being. And then the discovery that as opposed to maybe our normal concept before we come into Dharma, you know, when someone asks us how our life is going, then we'll say it's going great. If it's still going great, and then what's the reason? I had a nice brunch. I went to a great concert. I met this, nice person. I got a promotion. Got, I don't know, subscribers on my Insta, whatever it is, right? Then the normal concept of how our life is going is typically focused on the outside, right? But the Buddha is telling us, has told us that actually the happiness is fundamentally rooted in our own minds. So this then is why meditation in general is very much emphasized in the Buddhist tradition, because we can think of our meditation as a kind of mental training, right? Mm. And we are trying to train in various um, kind of faculties and functions of the mind. And well, this one that we're doing with the this kind of mindfulness meditation, the one we did at the beginning of the session, it's mostly trying to develop this faculty of concentration. Mm. So we can say that's a kind of, those of you who know shamatha meditation, yeah, trying to develop what they call the single point of concentration. And we do that by, this kind of meditation is also called placement meditation, because we place our mind on an object and try to remain focused and concentrated on that object and not be, distracted when other things appear to the mind. and they will appear to the mind. Um, so here, I should ask, how did it go for you? The meditation. Hmm? You're distracted. She said, I was distracted, but I tried. That's great. Me too, right? It's always, so those of you on the Zoom, maybe some of you have been here. Oh, hi, Nicole. Um, but we're here in Bangalore, and it's a Sunday morning, and the windows are open, and we hear the cars honking. Okay, children playing. Oh, that's nice. Maybe there's a few vendors, right? I don't know what they're selling. So, in general, sound is um, in two ways. In one way, it says in the traditional text, it's very detrimental for concentration. So, uh, typically, when I had done, say, the Vipassana retreat or other kinds of retreat, I use earplugs. In general, I learned this the first time when I was traveling. Um, and yeah, I love India. You guys know that. But there's a lot of people here, and people make noise. And there's also, in many parts, there's a lot of dogs that bark at all hours of the night. So when I was traveling, um, it is indispensable for me to have earplugs. I carry them in my pocket. I'm taking a bus later today. So I also in the bus put in earplugs. Now, for beginners like us, then it's good to eliminate things that might distract us. But as much as we try to eliminate, perfect, because then we have the internal distractions as well. And even with the earplugs, they might take off like 28 decibels, but still, some of those horns honking outside, you would still hear it. So I mentioned this in the instructions, but as we try to remain focused on whatever the object of meditation is, and there's other appearances that come to the mind, don't let our mind get caught up in that story. Yeah. So it's kind of like this. I often use this as an example. So forgetting about the sounds, usually for me, like also the thoughts are coming, right? And so there's a very helpful analogy actually that was given by Mingyur Rinpoche. And that is, well, this analogy of of a river. Right? And usually what happens, um, let's say a thought comes like, "Ooh, I'm hungry. And then maybe some of you heard there's someone who came in the middle of the session, right? And those of you who have come to CKSL a few times on Sunday, you'll know it's the snack and coffee voila, right? Yeah, very nice. By the way, just press pause, but it's very nice that there's a plethora of snacks that's offered here, right? So I'll say this, the purpose of the center is to bring happiness to beings. And, for many years, I've been, lecturing on Buddhist philosophy and so forth. I'm not sure that's bringing happiness to everyone. But when the snacks come and it's break time, everyone is happy. You know? So then we hear the snack guy come, and then we're like, ooh, I wonder what there is, right? It can happen. So just look, I'm not joking around, but we need to look at how this so-called train of thought happens, right? First, we just hear, I don't know, the door open, right? Then we might hear some chatting. Then, if you're like me, and unfortunately, I don't know Kannada, I don't know Hindi, I don't know. But whatever conversation maybe you heard, and maybe you heard like, oh, how much is it? Okay, I'll pay you, blah, blah, blah. Then you know it's not just someone coming late, because that also happens a lot here. Then you know it's the snack guy. You wonder, oh, yesterday we had samosas. Then you hear the detailing. Oh, yes, then you hear the yeah, you hear all these things, all this. But then the train of thought comes, right? Yesterday we had samosas. Oh, but there were cheese samosas and I'm vegan. Uh, and then what was the other thing yesterday? Sorry. Kechori. Kechori. Oh, kechori. That was nice. Hope they have kechori again. Samosas, okay, I don't need them. Especially those cheese ones. Don't they know I'm vegan? Why do they bring cheese ones? Right? Then the mind just goes on this train of thought. Yes? So check. I'm using this as an example. Whatever might happen in your meditation, did you go on some trains of thought? Yes, fine. So what I like to say, just bringing back to the analogy of the river, you see, normally we're in the river and we get swept away by the current, right? There's that one thought, then it follows by a second, third, this, and here in this case, in a few thoughts, it can then turn to getting a bit agitated or upset, right? If we go from, oh, there's a snack guy, I wonder what there is. Then the preferences. I hope that too. Oh, I hope there's not, I hope there's the snacks I like. So there's attachment. And then I hope they don't bring the snacks I don't like, aversion. Then we might make it personal. They know I'm vegan. I told them I was vegan and they didn't bring, the one I like. And then I take it personal. I'm upset at whatever. I'm really not. I'm just saying this as an example. You know, does this happen? Right? So very quickly from we see in like the span of 15 seconds from the door opening, and then we are offended and we have aversion to someone. You see? So this is what I mean. We're getting swept away by the river. Okay. So then the other side is, well, then some people think, okay, I have to cut off all the thoughts, right? We think that the meditation should be totally blank, like state of mind, no thinking. Yeah, some people think this. And then it's like, they think it's like damming up the river. But as we know, what happens when you dam up the river? The energy builds up. That's how hydroelectric dams work, right? The energy builds up. And then unfortunately, in some parts I read in the news, where is it? Maybe, uh, yeah, in India, I think a dam broke. This year, last year? Anyway, then it floods the whole town, right? So rather than getting swept in the river and rather than trying to cut off the thoughts in some way, the solution is we hop on the bank of the river and watch it go by. So we're not going to be able to stop the first thought. That's okay. But we let it go by and we don't engage. But if we notice we've engaged, then as soon as we notice that, then we just start again. And it's okay. Also, not then following into the story like, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad meditator. In one way, we can even be happy that we notice that we've been distracted. So at our kind of stage in the game, it's like training a puppy, right? Then many times we might have to bring the puppy back. Okay, don't chew on the couch. Like, okay, don't pee there. Like, and keep bringing back, right? It's like that. Our just like the untrained puppy, right? That's our mind right now. Yeah. Anyway, that's the kind of mechanics of what we're trying to do in this one that we've done already, and we'll go into a little bit different flavor in a little bit, but this standard kind of meditation that we did, we're trying to develop single point in concentration, and therefore, in order to do that, we then, in this case, right, the mindfulness means remembering the object of meditation. Yeah. We have in this shamatha meditation, and we'll get into a few distinctions later, but the mindfulness meditation, we're working on two faculties of the mind to develop single point of concentration. We have the mindfulness, which is the faculty of the mind that holds onto the object. And then we have introspection, which is the internal quality control of the mind, checking if, well, there's two obstacles to remaining focused on the object. One is the distraction. They sometimes call it mental scattering, yeah, where we lose the object of meditation, yeah, scattering. The mind is scattered from the breath, and we're thinking about samosas. Then the other one is dullness. And this is why we try to keep our eyes a little bit open. Because we might, be susceptible to falling asleep. That happened too, right? And I've had 2 coffees this morning, right? It happens. So then the faculty of introspection then is looking at the mind. It's one part of the mind looking at the mind and checking, am I still focused on the breath? Am I thinking something else? Am I, falling asleep? Like that. So, that is what we're working on now with these meditations. Okay. Sadhana. No, wait, just wait. She's already getting up. No, I have a question. So I think I remember giving sadhana the unofficial title of the queen of the snacks.
Oh.
Yes?
Hospitality in charge.
Huh? Hospitality?
Hospitality in charge.
No, I like queen better. So when it comes to the Dharma teaching, I'm in charge. When it comes to the snacks, so Sadhana, when do you want to have the break? Huh? We can have it right now, she says. Is that?
For the next session. Be alert in 45.
Okay. So why I even brought that up, it is a kind of natural place. We did one kind of meditation. I talked about it. And then there's another kind of meditation that we're going to do. And then I'm also going to talk about. So maybe now it is time for happiness. Okay, so my friends online, some of you were here yesterday, thank you. And those of you who weren't, anyway, I'm a little bit advertising the benefits of being in person at the center because we have snacks. So if you have a snack, you can get it. Now, I have something for all of you as well. So I've just come from Nepal and I was attending a very important teaching that lasted 2.5 months. And at the end of it, we had a soap offering. And this is some of the torma from that. So torma is barley flour mixed with sugar. Perhaps there's also butter. It's tasty. And although normally I'm vegan, I make an exception for torma. Okay? So here, maybe Sadhana or someone, do we have a plate? Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Lavanya.
I'm sorry?
Lavanya.
Lavanya.
Yes.
Wow. Sounds French. Lavanya. It sounds like a job in France. What do you do for a living? I'm a lavanier. Huh? No?
I'm going to, but it could have a meaning, kind of. No.
I see. Oh, well, that's a big plate. Okay, great. Okay. So, as that's being prepared, we can bless the offerings. So, Omahom, Omahom, Omahom. Oh, you have these prayer books. Let's use it. Oops. I think it's around 205. No, around 205. Yeah, 207. So if you have the FMT prayer book, it's great at home. Otherwise, we can do. So here, so still preparing, we can visualize the food as blissful wisdom nectar inside a vast jeweled vessel and offer this to a small Buddha visualized at your heart chakra. Recite Om Ahom 3 times to consecrate the food or beverage and then offer with any of the following verses. As you eat or drink, imagine that Guru Shakyamuni Buddha at your heart, who embodies the triple gem, means Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, experiences great bliss from the nectar that you have offered. He radiates light which fills your entire body. Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom. Then, we usually do this first stanza, but let's do the other ones. May we and those around us in all future lives never be separated from the three jewels. Continuously we make offerings to the three jewels and receive the inspiration of the three jewels. To the Supreme Teacher, the precious Buddha, the Supreme Refuge, the precious Dharma, the Supreme Guides, the precious Sangha, to the triple gem, the objects of refuge, I make offerings. Okay, so thank you, those of you at home. We'll have about 15 minutes. Yeah, it's 11:46. By the way, that clock, I think it loses time. You know? Means every day kind of a few seconds. The like the very kind of fancy Swiss chronometers or whatever, they have checks. And generally a watch that gives like plus or minus 2 seconds a day. That's quite good. Sorry, I'm just kind of playing time because they're still preparing the snacks. Anyway, those of you at home, enjoy whatever kind of snacks. Dilshad, what kind of snacks do you have?
No, it's not, for me, it's not a snacks time when we had a breakfast.
Did you have breakfast?
Yeah, I had.
Okay. Wow, Dilshad is so disciplined. Did you hear her? She said, no, for me, it's not snacks time. That's the best way to maintain a healthy weight. Okay, but nonetheless, Dosha, since we're offering to the Buddha, you could have maybe like, one bit of moon dog. You won't get overweight. Okay, so everyone, you can enjoy from this, take a small piece. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Start again. Oh. All right. Maybe a few words, and then we'll meditate, and then a few more words. Okay. So originally, when I was when we were planning this session, I was requested to do just the anapanasati, the mindfulness of the breath. And then at one point, I thought I was going to stay longer. So then I had the idea, why don't we go through the so-called 4 foundations of mindfulness, or the 4 applications of mindfulness. Then it's body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. I thought that was good. And then my schedule changed and I had less time. So then I was like, okay, how do we, and I thought we could do at least the first 2, body and feelings. So actually, the basis of all this is a sutra. And within that, the mindfulness of the breath is subsumed under the mindfulness of body. Yeah. Because although we say being mindful of the breath, what we're actually doing is we're mindful of the fluctuations, the changes in the body as we breathe in and out. Right. So before the break, both of those, we started with the body and the kind of full body. And then we did a part by part scanning of the body, which, by the way, if you've done Vipassana in the Goenka tradition, that is one of the main things they do. Yeah, at the beginning. You're done? Nice. Right? And then we switched to the breath. But then we were asking, how do we know we're breathing? Right? And so different traditions, they will sort of emphasize a different location from which to observe the breath. We Shanti mentioned in the intro, I studied in the Theravadan tradition before, and basically in the Vipassana tradition, there are two sort of main gained a lot of popularity. And one is that by the late Goenkaji S.N. Goenka, and in that tradition, um, they choose the area in the upper lip and nostril, this by the apertures of the nostrils, from where to observe the breath. And then there's another Burmese master, Mahasi Sayadaw, and in that tradition, they focus on the abdomen, rising and falling. Okay. So in the sutra, it the Buddha says about watching the breath that you'll know when a breath is long, that it is long, and when a breath is short, you know it is short. Something like this, right? So it doesn't really go into, oh, watch the abdomen, watch the nostrils, something like this. And in fact, there's some debate whether these kinds of practices that we see today existed in an unbroken lineage from the time of Buddha. Some say that these masters in the 19th century, and reading the text, were like, okay, if a breath is long, know it is long. Okay, how do I do that? And then just as I asked you at the beginning, how do you know you're breathing? Right? Then some of you, especially if you haven't studied this before and were told, look at the nostrils, or then some of you might say, how did you know you're breathing? Who gravitated toward, oh, I feel the abdomen rising and falling? Yeah. Right. So in general, because that's a larger area of the body, there's more going on there. Then larger, right, means it's easier to be aware of that. But in a smaller area, if you are able to focus, because it's smaller, the attention has to be more refined, they say. But then other teachers, Alan Wallace being one of them, then it's a bit like, okay, starting where we started and just kind of don't, it doesn't matter so much where, just be aware that you're breathing. But then you'll be led through, okay, now we focus on the abdomen. Okay, now we focus on the nostril area, like that's a kind of progression. So you can experiment like this. See what works for you. Okay. So I mentioned that mindfulness, it kind of has different connotations depending whom you talk to. And this one that we've done thus far is related to the development of the single-pointed concentration. And in that context, mindfulness means the faculty of the mind that holds onto the object. Okay. Now, there's another, and particularly in the West, when you hear about mindfulness, has this other connotation of just being aware of what's going on in the present moment. Yeah. There's another phrase they talk about non-judgmental awareness. Non-judgmental awareness. That means whatever arises, you're aware of it, but not judging means not having aversion to unpleasant or clinging to the pleasant. Yeah. A little bit, yeah, different, huh? These two senses. But in terms of the practicality, well, let's try this other method actually, and then I'll say a few things. Okay. We started a little bit later. So maybe let's see. Okay, let's get into a meditation posture again. So I'll just say this. As we meditate, we're still going to have the breath. You can think of it as our home. So concentrate on the breath. When other things arise, you can be aware that they arise, but don't engage. Here is the person on the bank of the river watching what goes by. So we're breathing, we're in our home, then we notice there's a memory. We notice there's a memory. Now, in the Mahasi Sayadaw tradition, you would then just label thought. You see something? That's a thought. Then memory, then itchiness, then tingling, then coolness, whatever it is, and in the whole field of awareness. So, we're talking about awareness, the mindfulness of body. Feelings means pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Mind can be those memories. It can be anger. It can be anything that's going on in the mental world, right? Phenomena, well, that's anything not included in those categories. So here, our job, stay on the breath, and then other things that happen. So phenomena would include the sounds outside, right? Sound. We just label. And we don't cling. We let them all go. Okay? So let's try like this. Getting into a comfortable meditation posture. Just quickly scanning through the body and releasing tension. Then I invite you to place your awareness, place your focus, your attention on the breath, in particular, the physical sensations as you breathe in and out. when these other appearances come, just lightly, very lightly be aware of them. Try to stay as close to the sort of naked experience as possible. So if you hear a sound, just kind of sound. Don't get into the story of what that sound signifies or means. Similarly with your memories or other physical sensations, maybe itchiness, maybe tingling, whatever goes on in the mind, just be but not clinging, not chasing after. Tenzon meditation. So one small thing to mention. Okay. So the first Vipassana retreat I did was there. We were very almost like doing things in slow motion. It can seem that way. But one thing we did, right? You sit down for your meditation posture and you're going to put your hands in the meditation mudra so you guys can see. Then, rather than just going like this, how does that actually happen? First, we have the thought, I'm going to put my hands in the meditation mudra. And be aware, okay, I'm lifting my left hand, bringing it to the center of my body, turning it over, placing in the lap. Lift the right hand, bringing it to the center, turning it over, placing on top, like this. Okay. So many times you see, we're not mindful of what we're doing. Oftentimes you can be sitting at a desk and, have a nervous kind of tapping our leg. See this sometimes in a movie, people mindlessly clicking. You may be reading something, click, 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 It's happening. So part of what we're trying to do all right, remember that train of thought from hearing the coffee guy come in to thinking about what there's going to be for snacks to then remembering the snacks we had before and all those afflictions. So all of that is happening very unmindfully. So Shantideva, he, in his Bodhisattva Charyavatara, he says that, he pleads those who wish to guard their mind to guard mindfulness. He pleads with us, beseeches us. So we use this kind of meditation as training for the mind. All right, yes, lifting the hand, put this, okay, fine. But that's the training. Then we can become aware. If there's a sound outside, okay, just sound. Not to get caught up in the story. Then similarly, if we hear a sound, you're a horrible person, right? So it's kind of like this, right? If it were nighttime and maybe let's say we're in some forest, we might hear some crickets, right? In the morning, we might hear some birds chirping. That in and of itself, it doesn't necessarily distract us, right? We can still be aware of the cricket and it doesn't really faze us, right? But here, we might hear something outside and then we get caught up in the story quite easily, right? So this faculty of the mind of non-judgmental awareness is very useful for our daily lives. Because then we can be aware of the sounds and then just leave it at that. We don't have to be caught up in the story. They said I'm a horrible person. That agitates us, and then naturally, unmindfully, we might criticize them back. Right? But just as rather than this, yeah, a time to meditate like this, our when we're criticized, our tendency to criticize back is that quick too. So just as to go from here to here, there actually is the first desire to get into the meditation position, and then a desire to lift the hands, move them in a certain way like this, right? So similarly, we hear criticism, then that's just the sound. Then what happens? A connection, let's say you're a horrible person, then we connect that to me. Then some unpleasantness, then a wish to retaliate, then a wish to say this particular insult back to them, and then we say it. Yeah. So in those steps, before we get to the point of insulting someone back, if we can catch it, right? We might even just notice, oh, I want to call them a horrible person who's also whatever. Yeah. But just as if we have the impulse, we can watch it, right? So this is a smaller thing. Sometimes when we're sitting, you get that like itch on your face, right? Normally, unmindfully, we just scratch. But then we can also, oh, there's itching, there's tingling. We don't have to scratch. We don't. Okay. So just like that, there might be an impulse to scratch, but we don't have to act on it. Then when we're criticized, there is an impulse to insult the other person back, but we don't have to act on that either. This point, I think, is, in my humble opinion, I think is missing from how Vipassana is taught. It's not relating to our behavior. Well, I'm not saying everyone, but yeah. So this is how then it can help us in our daily lives. We do on the cushion, thinking of it as the training, and then these skills that we're developing, we bring into our daily life. Yes.
Just for the sake of clarity, the non-judgmental awareness as a concept you introduced, or another translation also, is it the same actually as introspective awareness or introspection? Because it sounds a lot like a similar or same quality.
They're similar, but they're not the same. So, Alice?
Yes.
Yes, wow. She asked whether this non-judgmental awareness is the same as the introspection. And I'm saying they're not exactly the same. Because introspection, it's primarily looking for scattering and laxity. The non-judgmental awareness is, although we're aware of the sound, the feeling, the sensation, we don't have clinging to the pleasant nor aversion to the unpleasant. we are remaining in the bare awareness of that's a sound, that's a memory. And this is like the first thought and not going to the second thought. Introspection would be to become then aware that we've gone down that road of mental scattering. In any case, you can think about that. But sometimes, you know, there's some kind of terminology we see, and if we go to different meditation teachers, they might be talking about certain things and use certain words and labels. I remember some years ago, someone was asking me, oh man, what was it? Something along the lines of the difference between, let's say, this mindfulness meditation and okay, let's say someone says, so is the meditation on the conventional nature of the mind in Mahamudra the same as non-judgmental awareness, right? And then I asked them, I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean when you say the meditation on the conventional nature of the mind in terms of Mahamudra? And they're like, right? So I'm not saying this about you in particular, but there is a little bit of a risk when we get too caught up in the labels, especially in this kind of meditation where it's very experiential. We know what we should be doing, I hope, with these two meditations we've done, right? One is trying to develop single point of focus. One is when all these things happen, it doesn't make us freak out. Do you know what I mean? We don't get caught up in the stories. This is in some way, you know, I was saying the home is the breath, but then as we breathe, there might be all these different things that come. And then in some sense, you can think of although really you only have one meditation object at one time, on some level, technically this is not correct, but on some level, what is the object of meditation for that one is whatever's happening in the present moment. Right? If there's a thought, we're aware of the thought. But if there's no thought, if there's no sound, if there's no memory, if there's no tingling, if there's no itchiness, we're still breathing. And we're aware of that. Then, okay, itchiness is there. I'm aware of the itchiness. Oh, it's staying. Just watch. And then, for example, it might go away. It doesn't go away. You don't have to then, I mean, you could, just for the rest of your 25-minute session, you leave that itch alone and you're aware of it. But if you get to the point where, oh man, enough with that, I want to scratch, you can do the same thing as we did with our hands. I want to scratch my head. Okay, now I'm going to lift my arm. Now I'm going to bring it to my scalp. Now I'm going to scratch. Oh, so nice. Now I'm going to put it down like this, right? It's okay. And why I brought all this up is when I did this at the end of the session, some people in my peripheral vision I saw them immediately kind of move, right? So even at the end of the session, we keep it. I hear the bell. I'm going to get out of my meditation position. And how do I do that? Okay, I'm going to lift my hand, turn it, move it to the side, place on my knee. I'm going to come out of the full lotus posture. So then, like this, and very mindfully come out of the meditation. Not just, you know, sorry, this is an image just came to mind, like the Olympic weightlifters, right? They lift it, and then when they're done, it's like boom, they just drop it. It's like, 200 kgs where they're at, they just drop it. It's like boom, you know. So our meditation isn't like that. It's like we're going, like it's been so much torture. Then we just drop it. Oh my God. You with me? Okay. So maybe there's a few minutes. Ooh, wow. A few minutes for questions. Hi.
The single-pointed focus meditation as well. We need a part of the mind to be watching the distractions. Does that take away from the single pointedness?
So, okay, in terms of the two faculties of mind, the mindfulness, which is holding the object, and the introspection, it's about 15 to 20% on the introspection. And it's just kind of in the background. Now, in general, there's one image. The ocean, there's a small fish swimming deep. That fish swimming doesn't disturb the water. Something like that. So yes, if you are too like I'm distracted, I'm distracted, I'm distracted, I'm distracted. If you're too on edge, if you have anxiety about it, that can be calm. So similarly, it'd be like every so often also you just would check your posture again. Because let's say you do a 25-minute session. At the beginning, nice, 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in, like this, right? So wait a minute. Oh, I've got. Okay, anything else? Yes,
You didn't talk about it, but can you tell us if in the Mahayana tradition there is any role for mantra meditation?
Yes. So I didn't talk about it, that's true. But in the Mahayana, is there any role for mantra meditation? Yes, for sure. There are so many kinds of meditation. And yeah, in this 2 hours plus session, we can't go through them all. But for sure, there is mantra meditation. Yeah. This meditation that we did today, I like, especially the mindfulness of the breath, I like to call that the vanilla ice cream of meditation, because it is very standard, no frills, but it can be the basis for any kind of practice you'll do later. It brings stability to the mind, because without that, then you have a mantra, and Om Mani Padme, Om Mani Padme, Om Mani Padme. The words might come, but your mind isn't concentrated. Done properly, the mind can get absorbed into the mantra quite well, and it will become an aid to your concentration. But typically, what you would do, you always start off with this kind of breathing meditation. Sometimes they say until you can count 21 breaths. Some say count to 31 breaths without losing focus. Then your mind has at least some base level of stability, but then you can go on to something else. Those other meditations will be hopefully taught here. They have been taught in the past, and they will be taught again in the future. Okay.
Venerable, is the non-judgmental awareness, it's a kind of single-pointed meditation.
So I would say non-judgmental awareness is a faculty of mind that we're trying to cultivate when we do this meditation. But again, terminology, right? See, in certain places, what we did for that during that meditation, they'll call that vipassana. But see, in the Tibetan tradition, vipassana, that's special insight, right? Insight meditation, you'll sometimes see. And technically speaking, for the Tibetan tradition, that wouldn't be counted as vipassana. Because vipassana or special insight, Lama Tsongkhapa is so clear about this in Namrim Chemo, but insight requires analysis. So later, actually in for example, Shantideva's ninth chapter, the wisdom chapter of Bodhisattva Charyavatara, he describes the kind of Mahayana way of doing these four close placements of mindfulness. And in that context, the mindfulness is, right, mindful, trempa in Tibetan, means remembering. Remembering, well, for example, impermanence, selflessness, suffering. So at one stage, and yeah, we're not doing it today, but first you have to become aware of what's going on in your awareness. Yeah. Aware of what's going on in your awareness. Yeah, I can say that. Then see, if you're too caught up in, oh, I like this, I don't like that, you're going down the stream. But it's like just the impartial observer then looking at it. That's the first step. Then you can analyze. Okay, these sensations in my body, are they impermanent? Oh, maybe we'll get some insight that way, right? But in order to do that, you first need to have that object that you later analyze, you have to have it held by the mind, right?
Isn't that analysis a part of
Well, okay, so it's gonna come later, right? Continuum of the same thing. I'm not sure I would say that, but there's more like, it's more like stages of practice, right? First come to one, you develop some kind of proficiency in that, and then you go on to the other, right? And you kind of go like this. So in general, we were talking about the shamatha, developing single point of concentration, and then the vipassana is the analysis, right? That's how the Tibetans would present it. In the context of Shanti's question, what I'm putting forward is the non-judgmental awareness, that meditation instructions that I gave you when you go to some vipassana retreats, both in the West and in the traditional Mahasi Sayadaw, they'll do that and they'll call it vipassana. And well, we just got the first first half of the first chapter of instructions today. And so they call in those kind of vipassana retreats, you'll get that instruction first. What I'm saying is that's not the actual vipassana. Also in that, as you go continue on more, you'll get further instructions that will then, for the Tibetan kind of point of view, will be the actual vipassana when you get insight. But this is getting quite terminological.
So when does it lead to a greater clarity in non-judgment?
Yes, I think so.
So that also could be the true nature of the mind eventually.
Yeah, you see, in my opinion, why that is useful is right now we get very easily caught up in our judgments, right? And so as long as we're doing that, okay, let me put it the reverse way. We're trying to stay in this, what I mentioned, the naked experience of it, and not our story of that experience. And when we develop that faculty, that can then lead to, well, it's very similar to kind of meditation on the conventional nature of the mind, just that the mind is aware of something, right? That then is, they say, a very skillful means to achieve shamatha. And then, right, once we've achieved shamatha based on the conventional nature of the mind, we then bring in the vipassana. We can then analyze whether that conventional nature of the mind is, well, impermanent, suffering, empty of inherent existence. Get the real groundbreaking realization, right? I think that's how it works. Of course, I don't have any realization, but that's the roadmap. But now, just left the house, we're just getting on the road and we have Bangalore traffic to deal with. So don't have too many plans about which restaurants you're going to go to on the beach in Goa before you're out of Bangalore. Hi.
This non-judgmental thing, I want to get back to it.
I'm sorry?
Non-judgmental.
Yeah.
If you're really going to be non-judgmental, you can't analyze. If you're really going to be non-judgmental, you can't get the right view because then you don't know one from the other.
Right.
You stop that being non-judgment.
So that's what I'm saying. We've just left the house, right?
Yeah, then tell us a couple of steps beyond that. No, just further down the road. Because non-judgment doesn't. It's not.
Okay, don't get caught up in the words, Avan. Okay, so remember, we need both these things, single pointed focus, and then analysis is coming later. If we don't have single pointed focus, there's no way to analyze,
Yes.
right? Okay. What is pulling us away from having single pointed focus? When we're trying to meditate on the breath, we then have a whatever, we hear something. And then we're like, why are they making so much noise? Why are we doing this? Don't they know they're dead? Da 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 da. We're far gone. That's a big distraction. So if we are able to meditating on the breath, there's a sound, we have non-judgmental awareness of that, that's going to help us gain single pointed concentration. Okay. So this all is in that towards that goal. Now you're right. If we only stop at that, single pointed, yes, we're not analyzing, we're not gaining insight, this. Okay, so we do need both. But yeah, that's putting this in the greater context. Having the non-judgmental awareness is going to help us develop single pointedness. And in our daily life, it's going to help us hopefully from reacting and being just blown all over the place by our reactions and afflictions. Hi.
Okay, I have one more terminology related question, so I thought that I like to see how things fit into
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
When you think of kind of usual Ida or daily meditation in the Tibetan traditions, does that fit neatly into either shamatha or vipassana or placement or analytical? Or does that completely transcend those two boxes and it's a bit of each or completely different? I haven't been clear on that for a while.
So, okay. So Alice has asked, in the traditional kind of deity or hidden meditation in the Tibetan tradition, does that fit into Vipassana, single pointed, all this? Okay, so there will be elements of both. Okay. And in general, even for, say, Lamrim meditation, which we also sometimes do here, there should be some element of Vipassana and some element of placement meditation. Right? Means when we analyze, when we come to the conclusion, we place our mind in that conclusion. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to a daily meditation. So another thing we can do as an object of meditation, we would visualize the Buddha in the space in front of us. Okay. So we do that. Now, you'll see in the meditation manuals, then it'll say, he's sitting on a lion throne, on a lotus, sun and moon disk, in the Vajra posture, left hand and right hand, the mudra touching the earth, left hand in meditative equipoise, and holding a bowl full of nectar. Right? Wearing the 3 saffron robes, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it'll go through all these different details of how the Buddha looks. Now, for you, as you build up that image, that's some kind of analysis, right? Getting more detailed. Then at some point, you're satisfied with that. And then you just, however much detail you have in that image, remain single point on that. That's like, anyway, the first kind of step. Of course, later, well, it's kind of the same thing, right? Whether it is your body, your feelings, your thoughts, yourself, then still the analysis holds true. Is this impermanent? Is this selfless? Right? Then similarly, with the image of the Buddha, is that impermanent? Is that selfless? You can do that analysis later. But in general, you know, this daily meditation, I mean, in one sense, especially in the Gelugpa tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, that kind of deity yoga is seen as very skillful. So it does contain both elements of the practice, both shamatha and vipassana.
Question.
Yeah.
The relevance of non-judgmental awareness in our daily life is that it helps us exercise self-restraint, is it?
Yes.
And we're not getting swept away by events happening around us.
That's right. Very good. Yes. Exactly. Because I'm reminded of some song lyrics. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's there where you are. Anyway. So similarly, our judgments very often are misguided, you know. And so we don't have to trust these reactions. Giving ourselves some space between it will help us not to, you know, freak out. Okay. That's it for now, for today, for this week. Okay. So let's just dedicate quickly that due to the positive energy that we've created in our time here today, may all beings quickly be free from all their suffering and attain the state of enlightenment. Also dedicate for the long lives of the spiritual friends, particularly His Holiness Dalai Lama, the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and for all approximate causes of suffering in the world, suffering due to environmental degradation, natural disasters, disease, means physical and mental illness. May all of these be pacified, all the war, all of these be pacified. And yeah, may we quickly attain the state of enlightenment so we can quickly liberate us from the oceans of samsaric suffering and lead them to the state of enlightenment as well. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.